I have 5:30 Pacific Daylight Saving Time. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is the Pacific Division Feeding Capacity Building Series. This series is brought to you by the Pacific Division Feeding Leadership. My name is Yi Wei. I am a volunteer and I will be your host throughout this series. And most of you received an email from me today to tell you what upcoming sessions are. Take a look at that. And all the videos has been uploaded to YouTube. All the previous slides has been compiled to one single document that you can see for all those previous slides sessions as well. We enabled a new function for this time. If you're looking at the very top of your Teams channel, there's a section next to chat, and between chat and people, there's something called Q&A. So if you have any questions to ask us as a group, please put into the Q&A. That ensures us that we catch all your questions. I know last time when we tried to use the chat, it's very easy for us to miss, or for me personally, to miss all those questions. And if you want to say hi to each other, please use the chat function so everyone can say hi to each other. This series is really to help us to build our capacities, whether it's in our region, division, or national when we deploy out. So let's go ahead and get started. Today, we're going to talk about partnering in Baptist Kitchen. We are going to welcome Julia Bishop from Cascades region. She is the regional feeding lead from Cascades. And we also welcome Carol from Pacific Islands region that they're going to share with us this important topic. It sounds really, really interesting. We will leave 20 minutes towards the end for all the Q&As. Okay, back to you, Julia and Carol.
All right. Thank you everybody for joining us. Now, we have a lot of partners in the Red Cross, but the one that we actually work side by side in the kitchen with is the Baptist. The other partners that we have run their own kitchens, and we don't normally work in them or as closely with them as we do the Baptist. So that's why we're focusing just on them. Can you go to the next slide? And this explains Carol's and my information. If you have any questions, either one of us can try and answer them for you. Text me, call me, email me. I'm sure Carol will do the same.
Yeah, can I just add that's 805, not 895 for my phone
Whoops,
number.
I mistyped
So,
it. Sorry.
okay. I missed it when I proofed.
Oh
I
no.
missed it too. Okay, thank you so much. We'll change it afterwards as well.
I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you, Carol. Okay, next slide. So here are some of the other partners that we have besides the Baptist. We have the Amish Kitchen, Loaves and Fishes. They have a mobile kitchen. They come in and do all the cooking. Then we pay, they normally donate the food, but we do pay them sometimes. Christian Aid Ministries, they coordinate restaurants that do the feeding. World Central Kitchen either brings in a mobile kitchen or sets up at a school or a church. Mercy Chefs, the same thing. They set up a school or a church. Salvation Army either uses Salvation Army churches or their mobile kitchens, and Operation Barbecue brings their own kitchens with them. Next slide. Okay, so what is a kitchen? Here's our misconceptions. Kitchens are just used in massive response. No, that's not true. We use them in any opportunity that we can. We do have to ask permission from National to open up a Baptist kitchen. Now, we can use a Baptist church that has a commercial kitchen. That's a different situation. Kitchens have more workers, so it's easier to handle the workload. Not true. We usually don't have enough to handle the workload. So um, that a lot of people do double duties in kitchens. The kitchen work is more fun as you don't have to work with clients. That is not true either. And I do have to say it is fun. I think it's the funnest job other than driving around in the herb and giving people that are thankful that you're showing up food. The emergency response vehicle or ERV drivers get to set their own schedules and then they're off. Not true. They work a split shift all day. In between their runs, they have to clean their Cambros, their vehicles, and reload and restock all their supplies. Routing decisions are made by kitchen staff and ERV drivers. No, there is a routes and reporting person, but we get that information from damage assessment and external relations on where the best places are to do our mobile feeding if we're going to do mobile feeding. Mobile feeding also has to be written into the service delivery plan before we can even activate mobile feeding. So that's part of some areas prefer to do it, some areas prefer not. So it's all different no matter where you're going to go. And the IRV drivers work 12-hour shifts. No, um, it varies, but it can be a 12-hour shift. It could be um, 8 or 10, but it also, again, it's usually a split shift depending because they have meetings and they have things that they have to do to prepare themselves and to clean their vehicles inside and out to get ready for the next meal. Next slide. Okay, Carol, you want to take this one?
Sure. So kitchen is where they cook and package food. Depending on where it's going, it depends on how it's packaged. And it's distributed lots of different ways. Sometimes it's by our IRVs. Sometimes if the kitchen is right next to a shelter, it goes right in. And also in some places I've had where they've had drive-through, people just come and pick up. So there's lots of different ways the foods are distributed. And sometimes other organizations come and pick up food from the kitchen also. It has a small, it is a small headquarter to itself. It has everything you need. It's kind of a self-contained world. And it is organized and chaotic at the same time. It's a lot of people doing a lot of different things. And there's a lot of moving parts, literally, because all the food comes in different pieces, gets put together, gets put into different containers, and then gets sent out. So there's lots and lots of things going on. It's a staging area for other types of feeding activities. And I spoke about that, like drive-throughs and things like that. It's an information center and a fixed feeding location sometimes. It's also a cleanup area. So when you come back with all of your Cambros and your IRVs, everything's got to be cleaned because we follow Department of Health regulations. And so everything's got to be cleaned. So just as much as it gets cooked, it gets cleaned. And then usually it's in a parking lot, and usually there's all the vehicles need to be repaired as well as some of the equipment. So there's usually a section that does that. And then we share space because sometimes it's in a church parking lot and it's just the kitchen. Sometimes it's next to a shelter. Sometimes it's different places. So we, just like everywhere else, we share space. And then of course it's always a communication hub because the people who go out and deliver food are the ones that are bringing back real intel from what's happening on the ground in different places. So there is a lot of communication. Next slide.
Wait, can we go back a little bit? I just wanted to add one thing. When you talked about the repair center for the vehicles, that's called a MIRV, or it used to be called a MIRV. Now I can't remember what they had to change the name to, but it's NFO, National Fleet Operations. They need to check our IRVs, our emergency response vehicle, every 3 days to make sure all their fluids are good, that their tires are good, because they're driving through some tough territory sometimes, may drive over a nail or whatever and have it in the tire. So always need to make sure that they're safe. With the new next gens, we have a lot of problems with the windows, either the handle breaking or if they're not shut properly, the window will shatter. So they have to check these vehicles on a regular basis. So that vehicle is a lot of times parked in that same parking lot as well. Okay, next slide. Okay, Carol, go ahead.
Okay, so mobile kitchens are brought in and they bring in everything. So it's like you have a parking lot one day and the next day is a kitchen with everything you need. You have your cleaning station, you got your staging areas, you have your cooking stoves, cooking, like you can see in the picture, big pots, so you're making lots of food. You have places where the workers are resting, where the workers are packaging, all sorts of stuff. So it's a lot of activity and there's a lot of people. The kitchen is set up outside. It's usually under tents and thousands of meals at once. When I was in Houston, we were feeding 3,000 in the shelter plus those going out in the IRVs. So lots of food. And then of course, if it's smaller, then those are smaller quantities. The food is ordered and paid for by the Red Cross from Cisco or US Food, and they bring them in by big container trucks. So there are refrigerator trucks and freezer trucks parked there that have the food in it. And then sometimes we are doing inventory, and sometimes the Baptists are, or it's a together kind of thing. So we work with them to help get the food to them to cook, and then take the food and deliver it where it needs to go. And then we pick up and deliver to various sites, whether it's throughout the community or to shelters or to places where they're all over the place. So yeah, I'm just thinking of all these different places that we deliver to, but basically anywhere people need food, we take it there.
This is a huge operation. If you came upon one of these kitchens, like they said, it takes them about 4 hours to set up their tents and all their big stoves, and those are dump skillets that they actually dump that food out of that tray that guy's using a paddle to stir it with into our Cambros so we can serve the food. They have yard lights, they have porta potties, they have washing stations, they have these large trucks, and then we bring in a kitchen support trailer that has all the things that our emergency response vehicles need for the supplies that they need. It's a huge operation to see all this, and it is, the Baptists are a well-oiled machine. They really know how to do this, and it is a great time working with them. It is a lot of work, but it is a great time working with them.
And their teams are just like us, mostly volunteer, and they come in like we do. They're deployed with the kitchen. They serve for a period of time, and then they leave and another team comes in. So just it's very similar in organization to the way that the Red Cross works.
The difference with them, though, is they pay their own way unless there's mission money to pay for it. And they sleep in a sleeping bag on the floor in the church gym, unless that church happens to have a mission house that they can stay in. But we try to loan them cots, so if they have to sleep on the floor, they can at least sleep on a Red Cross cot while they're there. But they pay their own way the whole way, and they're great folks to work with.
Yes.
Next slide. So this is the table of organization that you're going to see in the kitchen manager training, which is rather advanced, and it's a dream chart because most of the time you don't have that many people to support your kitchen operation. Okay, next slide.
I don't know that I've ever seen everybody.
No. Next slide, please. So here's the typical type of folks that you need in a kitchen. And sometimes you actually may not have enough. These are usually all supervisors. You may not have enough supervisors that deploy to your kitchen. You may have to ask a nerve driver that is a supervisor, are you willing to take one of these positions? Because we need the org chart filled out to be able to do this. So these are some of the positions. The kitchen manager is a manager. Then you have a nerve coordinator that's a supervisor. Your routes and reporting coordinator is a supervisor. Your load master, or as they used to call it, a yard dog. We used to tease and call the new people that were learning a yard puppy. And then we have an admin person. Usually the admin person is working so closely along with the kitchen manager. They're actually learning how to be a kitchen manager as they're helping them with all those forms. Next slide. So sometimes we don't have all the staff, like I said, to fill all the positions. And this is just a suggestion on how you can cover all the positions. And many of the positions you may have to double up and do double duty depending on the size of the operation and how many people are deployed in your area. And it's important to set up the org chart for the needs for your specific situation and for the amount of people that you're serving and how you're working. Next slide. So here are our kitchen positions. We have a kitchen manager who's in charge of the kitchen and coordinates with the cooking team from the Baptist. We have the feeding supervisor, which works with the feeding team at headquarters when catering is needed. And then we have our IRV emergency response vehicle coordinator, and they assign the teams and the routes and schedule their days off. The routes and reporting coordinator develops routes and accepts all the numbers when they call in, how many lunches they served, how many dinners they served. They send that to them, and then that gets reported to the kitchen manager and to the headquarters person. And then our load master, the yard dog, honestly, they work the hardest because their job is very physical. They're out in the elements all the time, rain, snow, sun, whatever. And it's a fun job, but it's a tough job. Okay, next slide. So herb drivers. A lot of herb drivers, that's all they want to do is be an herb driver. And they love doing that, driving around and serving food. It is an extremely fun job as long as they're willing to see you show up every day. When they start complaining about the food, you know it's time to shut down the feeding operation. But most of the time, they're very thankful that you're there and so welcoming. So it is a very grateful job to be able to work with the clients as you drive up and serve their food. And then you have feeding essays. They may not have an ERV certification, but there are other needs for feeding folks as well that can support the kitchen and support the ERVs, and they can do a ride along with them as well to help serve the food. And then the inventory feeding person can do all the paperwork, the spreadsheets, write 6409s, which you write a lot of. And then event-based volunteer coordinator. Now, a lot of times we'll have event-based volunteers that show up and they're always willing to help. They always do great to help us wash our Cambros because you can end up with hundreds of those big, huge red cooler type things, and they have to go through a 3-step bath process to wash and then be air dried, laid out on pallets. And that's a big, heavy job when you've been out serving meals all day to have to come back and do all that. So it's always beneficial to have event-based volunteers that come in and say, yes, I want to help, I'll do that.
Hey, Julia, can I add one thing?
Sure.
The ERV drivers don't only serve food. They
No.
are probably one of the best sources of information on
Yes,
what's
they are.
happening in the communities
Yes.
because they drive from neighborhood to neighborhood. So they really can report back to damage assessment and different groups on what's going on out there. Has the electricity come back on? Is it still off? Are people returning to their homes? So they give a whole sense of what's going on, and it's extremely valuable information.
Yes, yes. And quite often they have mental health and health services folks following behind in a car behind them just to check in on the clients as they go, because they'll say, we've seen a lot of need in this area. Will you please come and trail behind us? Next slide. So here's the job duties of the kitchen managers. So they maintain the relationships with the kitchen. They report to the feeding manager at the headquarters. They work with the Baptist Blue Hat. Now, the Baptists, like I said, are a well-oiled machine. They're all the worker bees are in yellow with yellow hats and yellow shirts. But when you walk up and see a guy in a blue hat, he's in charge, and you know right who to go to because he's the guy in charge. Now, if you see a white hat, he's over multiple sites for the Baptists. It may be the chainsaw team, the shower trailer team, the laundry team, the muck out team, whatever it is. So he's over all those. So they have different colored hats, so you know who you're talking to and what you're going to accomplish. And it is always nice to be able to drop off your laundry in the morning to pick up clean clothes in the evening. So it's nice to
Yes,
partner
it
with
is.
them when they do that for you. You'll meet with the Red Cross leadership each day. You have a morning meeting with your leadership team, which are the ones we had talked about. And then there'll be a driver meeting after that your ERV coordinator usually leads that meeting, telling the drivers what their plans are and what their needs are, and then getting any information from them that they need to know. The manager needs to resolve conflict situations, which there will be some that come up, and the ability to mentor and lead your staff to help them to, if they're unsure about their job or what they need to do their job, they make sure that they get the coaching. And maybe you may have to switch up some teams to have one that's a stronger leader to help mentor someone. And then they also need to fill out evaluations, not for the whole team, but just for the leaders, the ERV coordinator, the routing person, the admin, load master, only the supervisors. Then each of those people will fill out evals for the people that are working with them. Next slide. Carol, you want to cover this one?
Sure. So the IRV coordinator, basically you have the IRVs, the emergency response vehicles, taking food all through the community, and the coordinator's the one who keeps that machine well running. And that's a lot of parts, and it changes almost daily. So it's a supervisor, and they schedule the drivers, when they're going, where they're going, what their days off are, and then who's going with who. And sometimes those have to change for different reasons. So it's not a static thing. It's a constantly changing thing. So the IRF coordinator has got to have the ability to juggle many things and bring them all into concert with one another. And they work with the route coordinator to figure out how much and how far and how fast a team can go out. And they work with all of the leadership, the kitchen manager and the leadership staff. They run the meetings, giving everybody a heads up. This is what we're planning today. This is the things we expect to happen. And this is what we think the day will look like. And then once everybody comes back, they collect all the information that from the IRV drivers on what they delivered, how many meals they served, all those kinds of things. And then they do evaluations at the end, and for the volunteers that are with them, they fill out the evaluations for each one. Next slide.
Go ahead, Carol.
Okay, so this one, the reports and route and report coordinator takes all that information that just came in. They work with all of the different groups, the damage assessment folks and external relations folks, to figure out where the need is and where the need is being met and where there is more need than we are meeting. Or maybe the need is not there anymore. And they're the ones who map out the routes. They get all of the things together for each team that goes out, and they are constantly updating and giving and receiving data and processing data. So if you're a data person, this is a perfect place for you, but you have to be very, how do I want to say this? Flexible. That's a good word.
Yes.
So you're collecting data, and you might hear from an IRV driver, an IRV team saying, hey, you had this route, but we couldn't finish it. It was too long. There's all these obstacles. And so then, you need to make the route a little bit shorter. Or we finished in an hour, and then, those folks have extra capacity. And so you have to be able to use a computer. Everything's, of course, computerized in an Excel, and you're going to put all of this data in and come out with some semblance of organization from that. And you also might help with evaluations, and you work, of course, with all the different leadership teams. Next slide.
Okay, next slide. Now, the load master or guard dog, their position is a supervisory position. And like I said, many times you have to field promote somebody in these positions. You're begging your IRV drivers, which one of you would like to stay behind and help us do this job? And it's hard because a lot of the IRV drivers really like driving the IRVs and delivering the meals and talking to the clients. But there's always somebody that's willing to stay behind and support you. So if you see this picture, it's a small picture, but you see all these pallets with food stacked on them. There's an IRV number at the bottom of each one of those. So that load master puts the first one out there, which is the farthest one away. That IRV gets to go in line first. And so they work with the load master with the Baptist to make sure they cannot touch that pallet till all the food is on there. Their bread, all the extra commodities that they need to go along with the meals that are going in the Cambros. And there's a count on each one of those. So they've got to make sure that they have the right count in each of those pallets before they pick up the food, because otherwise they'll miss out. Whoops, you skipped ahead. And so they got to make sure that they have enough of the right thing. Otherwise they may get 2 orders of peas and no meat. So you don't touch the Cambros until the load master tells you they're ready to go and you can pick them up. So it is a very physical job. They help them load it. They work with the Baptist to make sure that they have all the things that they need. And it's and sometimes they will be able to help complete evaluations if we need it. If you have a large crew of IRV drivers, you don't want one poor IRV coordinator running 40 evals. So you'll split that and actually assign people to do the eval. So the load master will take part of it, the routes and reporting person will take part of it, and the ERV coordinator will take part of it. So everybody gets a chance to write a good evaluation, because that's really our only paycheck other than the satisfaction knowing we've done a good job and we've helped our clients. Next slide. The kitchen admin person is a person that is considered a supervisor. They assist the kitchen manager. And like I said, a lot of times the person we try to put in that role, they may be just an admin person that likes to do all the data tracking, but it may be somebody that wants to learn to be a kitchen manager. This is how you learn the job, because you're right there side by side with your kitchen manager, learning the job as you go. And so this is another one of those jobs where you got to love being behind a computer, because there's all these documents that you track. We track everything in the Red Cross, and there's reasons for it, so that we can watch our budget, so that we can show our donors what we're doing with their money, so the people that are out begging for money for us can show how many meals we've done and where they've been. And we'll have commissioners and mayors call and say, but you're not taking care of my people. And we can say, no, we've just delivered 1,500 meals in your area for lunch and dinner today. So that all helps to track all that information. And they may have to help you, because like I said, there is a kitchen support trailer that comes in with all your clamshells that we put the food in, the cutlery packets, your gloves, all the extra coolers and things you need. If we start running low on that, then that person needs to make sure that we put in a request for more supplies. And they may end up also being the coordinator of the event-based volunteers at EBVs, or as they also have as LCVs, local community volunteers, which are actually Red Crossers that can show up for a day or two at a time. And they might have to do that job as well, to make sure that those people get assigned to a job where they feel valued. It's their community, their people. And we want to make sure that they have had a good experience when they've came to offer up their time and help us. Next slide. Event-based volunteers. So if you're lucky enough to have that coordinator, that person would work alongside the rest of the team and make sure, because I've had, up to 40 some event-based volunteers in some of the kitchens I worked in. So you've got this busy bee team working all over trying to figure out how we're going to keep all these folks busy. So this person coordinates with the headquarters on requesting event-based volunteers and placing them on what job they can do. If they want to watch Cambros, if they want to help load things, if they want to help clean ERVs, whatever the work tasks that we need to do. And then we make sure that they get assigned to someone that's going to mentor them and help them. And again, making sure that they feel like they've accomplished something, that they've done a job, that they've given up their time to help and support us. And then if there is someone that has been with us for a length of time on a regular basis, they can ask for an evaluation, and then we need to write an eval for them. And a lot of times those folks end up becoming a permanent Red Cross volunteer. And that's our goal, is to grow our teams and to develop more volunteers. Next slide. Okay, it's a rewarding and hard job, but it's fun. This picture right here is Kathleen Elliott. She's from Cascades region, and I begged her to come to Louisiana to help me. We had hundreds and hundreds of these Cambros that were not getting washed, and she took on the job. And I swear, when we locked the gates at night, they were throwing those over the fence, because we'd come in and there'd be another 100 more to have to wash and clean. And she was out there. If you see the tubs, it's a rinse, wash, and rinse job. And we palletized and palletized and washed. And I didn't think she'd ever talk to me again after that job, but she did a phenomenal job. Next slide. Thank you. I think we have one more slide after this. Or did we miss it? The plan B?
It's not just the Cambros, right? So we're also cleaning all of the
Serving
herbs,
utensils. Yeah.
cleaning everything all around. We're making sure that we're sanitary everywhere. So cleaning is a big part of feeding.
Yes, you have to make sure that your vehicle is clean inside and out, because you are representing the Red Cross as you're driving around through the community, and you don't want to be driving around in a muddy mess, because then they're wondering what it looks like on the inside if you're serving them food that's decent and well prepared.
And Julia, I have to apologize. I did not get that slide in.
Oh, darn. Okay. That's okay. Well, I think we wanted to leave quite a lot of time at the end for chatting. I probably talked a little too fast again, but Yiwei, what kind of questions do we have, or what kind of questions do people want to ask us?
Great. Thank you so much, Julia. Thank you so much, Carol. And we are doing perfect on timing. And before we jump into questions and sharing tips and introduce the panels, etc., I want to tell you what we have coming up next. So next week, we are going to talk about headquarters feeding manager's role. It will be a feeding discussion, a panel discussion. I'm too excited for feeding, and I say feeding discussions. Following that, we have forms and follow-ups. We mentioned a lot of forms, whether it's this session or previous sessions. So we're going to talk about all the forms. For May the 1st, we are going to talk about who supervises who. We talked about a lot of terminologies. We have a lot of positions. We also introduced the concept of disaster event-based volunteers. So that's the session we're going to talk about all of that. For the very, very last session, we won't have any presentations. We are going to answer all of your questions. We're going to have a panel discussion. We're going to bring back all the presenters and along with our panel to answer your questions. I think for the past, we've got a lot of questions, and we want to give you time to answer all of that. And I think now is a good time to think about what questions that you might have for the very last session. So before we go to the panel discussion and questions, I'd like to introduce Kay and Mary. Kay is our Pacific Division Mass Care lead, and Mary is our Pacific Division feeding lead. Kay and Mary, would you like to say something before we jump into questions?
I spent most of my time with the Red Cross, and I've been with the Red Cross 19 years. I spent most of it in feeding, and I spent most of it doing hurricanes. So kitchens are really important to me. I think they are an incredible place to work. I think the stress is high, given that you have people going out in the neighborhoods and actually seeing the damage, smelling it. You know, it's pretty amazing. But everybody who works in a kitchen works extremely hard, and they really work well together to try to serve the clients. Mary?
I just want to add to that, Kay. We joked at one point because our drivers were almost wanting to put a little sign in the plastic window about the little Lucy and Peanuts cartoon that 5 cents for counseling, because they try not to get in a hurry because they have to listen to all the stories. People come up and ask for their food, and they tell them about what's happened to them and how it's affected them. That's why a lot of times they'll ask that the mental health or the health services folks will follow along behind them to be able to talk to the folks as they drive away.
Yeah, and I will say that, one of the things that the kitchen serves as is a rest area for those ERV drivers, because they'll come in pretty distraught sometimes when they've seen the damage, and they just need to collect their thoughts and get ready for their second round. So that's another function the kitchen serves. Mary?
Thank you. So I'm really happy to see all of the different regions within the Pacific Division attending these workshops. As you recall, I think from the beginning, this series was twofold, really to boost the confidence and the skills of those people in the Pacific Division, so that we really, could rock and roll whenever there was a disaster and we needed to step up. The other reason was, the whole nation really, really relies heavily on the Pacific Division when hurricanes and tornadoes hit, and the other disasters in the South and the Midwest back east. And honestly, Julie has mentioned it a couple times about, quote unquote, being field promoted, which is not the best way at all to experience a new position. So our goal was to really help people understand the different jobs. It's not magic. It's not scary. I mean, yes, it can be chaotic and it's hard work, but it's very rewarding and it's very
Yes.
doable. Anyone that has either a feeding essay or shelter essay can very easily step up to be a feeding supervisor. There are enough people in our Pacific Division that would be a mentor, called a friend if you happen to be deployed and you weren't sure. I mean, people that would really be with you even though they're at a far distance 24/7, so to make sure that your experience is a positive one. So I'm hoping we're reaching those two objectives. We really want to support the National Red Cross and lots of qualified people when the need is there, as well as really have people in our division that are confident about serving excellent shelter cuisine.
You know, another thing I'd want to add to that, Mary, too, is anybody that's a little leery about becoming a supervisor because they're afraid that it might be overwhelming, I want you to know that we've got a phenomenal feeding divisional team that can be your phone a friend at any time, that we're here to help you. If you're in the middle, I don't know how many times I've had people call me from a DR or text me and say, help, can you chat? And let them call and vent and scream and cry and do whatever they need to do, or just say, they're wanting to do this and that. How do I accomplish this? We're here to help and support you. So that's one of the things we want you to know, that please take the step to become a supervisor, to try some of these jobs, and we're here to support you in doing that.
Thank you so much, Julia. Thank you so much, Mary and Kay. Wonderful thoughts, wonderful tips. Um, share one of my examples. Just not too long ago, several days ago, I'm currently on a DEER that is rolling off on a DEER, a local disaster relief operation. And I actually call someone, phone a friend, email that friend at NHQ national headquarters and say, hey, can you help? I follow the proper chain of command. I just said, well, I need a little tips. And sure enough, on a Saturday morning, they called back. So everyone on this Teams platform, anyone that was a presenter is going to be a presenter, please feel free to reach out, or their information's on the list that I sent out this afternoon. So feel free to reach out. We're here to support you. And also including your local chapters, regions, your disaster workforce managers, your disaster program managers or specialists. We're all here to support you. Okay, now panel, I have to ask you a question before all the other questions comes in, is that some of you share with us already, but I want to ask a little challenging question, is that two parts. One is, what is the most rewarding experience that you're doing when you have a field kitchen? Two is, if you were going to say all positions are challenging, all disasters are challenging, and you have organized chaos, what would you say is the most challenging position? Or what would you say is the most challenging part for being or operating at a field kitchen? Who wants to start first for the panel?
Well, I'll tell you.
Okay, I'll try.
Okay.
I'll do the most rewarding. How's that? I think any job in the kitchen is rewarding,
Yes.
and I think it is such a team. You generally you guys sleep together, you travel together, you eat together. I mean, it is a real cohesive team. And so if I'm the yard coordinator, I appreciate what the yard dog does for me, because all the jobs are intertwined. Or the routing guy, if I say, oh, this is too long, and they work it out, that's terrific. So really every job is intertwined with each other. And so all the jobs are extremely rewarding, because at the end of the day, you all got the job done, not just one of you. But I,
Oh,
but
thank
I, but
you.
I will say that IRF coordinator is my favorite.
I'll take one of the frustrating. So the most frustrating or difficult one for me happens to be based on my skill level, and that is both the admin and the routes and reports person. all of my friends and colleagues in the Red Cross know I am not technically savvy. I'm not a digital native by any stretch of the imagination. So those are incredibly frustrating for me. I don't do those jobs, but I love being the load master. I love um, being an ERV driver. I can do all of those things. So I think the most challenging will be is if you get put in a position where you're not comfortable with those skills.
I want to add
That
on that
that's good.
to
Yeah.
that.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so for me, I was in Hurricane Florence in North Carolina. I was on an ERV, having a great time, meeting all the people, serving food, but the people who were doing the routes were having a hard time. It was not their skill set. And after about the third or fourth day, I realized it was getting dangerous. And so I said, hey, team, you guys can handle without me. And I said, hey, guys, I have some organizational skills. I think I can help you. And so I moved into the route coordinator and brought a little bit of organization to utter chaos. And within a couple of days, everybody's like, wow, it's so much different. Wow, this is so better. And so it really depends on what your skills are. And if you're not in the right place, look for the place where you excel.
Yes, most definitely. And there's always people there on the job to support you and help you and mentor you. Don't be afraid to ask for help or to say, I'm just not comfortable with this. How can you help me feel better about what I'm doing? So I'll tell you one of my most rewarding experiences. I was in Hurricane Sandy, and Thanksgiving Day came around. A lot of the drivers wanted to take the day off. So I said, I'll go out in the ERV and drive the ERV and deliver the meals. And it was so nice to be able to get out of the kitchen, go out and do that. And these folks were saying, everybody else has abandoned us, but you guys, you're still here showing up on Thanksgiving Day to feed us meals. Thank you, Red Cross, for being here. So I not only got a thank you from the ERV drivers for letting them have the day off, but the important thing of the clients still realizing how important they were to us. And I'll say one of the most frustrating things sometimes is a lot of ERV drivers don't like to deploy to Texas because it's so spread out. And when you have some of the routes that they have to drive 2 hours before they can start serving food, that means you can send out one team to do lunch and a separate team has to go out and do dinner because they can't make the turnaround to come back. So that shortens your ability to accomplish that because you may not have enough vehicles or enough drivers. So that's always a frustrating situation. But like you said, we always found a way to make do, to make it work, and to work as a team to get it to happen.
Yeah, and I would say my most rewarding was working, feeding in a shelter. And after a while, you get to know the people. And a little kid came up to me, maybe 3 or 4, and asked for a bottle of water, gave them a bottle of water, and it was like I gave them a teddy bear or something. They were so excited and they were just so overjoyed. And I thought, this poor child has been in a shelter for months, well, weeks, and they're so excited about a glass of water and I could give it to them. How amazing is that?
Thank you so much all for sharing. I think those are all very heartwarming experiences, and reminds us that food does bring people comfort, does bring us, our clients, a sense of normalcy. Whether it's a small disaster, whether it's a large disaster, it brings us, comfort food when we're experiencing stress, when we're in a very, very chaotic environment. Food does bring us comfort. Um, and um, and I also wanted to point out in the chat that this is a great opportunity for us to get to know each other and also for all the leads or the folks to get connected. So when you need someone to do your admin work, I'm seeing some people that on the chat already that I can do admin work. This is a great opportunity for us to engage. And that is one of the main reasons that we are doing this series to help each other. Okay, so let's go to questions. We have several questions in the chat or in the Q&A section. For the panel, how often does the Baptist Kitchen get used in the Pacific Division specifically?
Well, I can tell you
Julia?
for the
Yeah.
Washington, Oregon part of it, we use them a lot more probably than California does because we have the developed teams here and they're very active. And I know California leans more strongly on the Salvation Army than Washington, Oregon does. So it just depends on if there's a team there and available. Otherwise, like I said, these people pay for their own travel to drive themselves there, and they don't get reimbursed. We at least get a debit card to pay for our expenses. These folks are all out of pocket for what they do. So it depends on if they've got a team available. And Washington, Oregon does have some good teams. I
You
can't
know,
talk for the others though.
yeah, I think that one of the things that the kitchens are really good for and are used for are notice events. When we
Yeah.
know there's going to be a disaster that happens, that way they can get their kitchens, on the way, so that they can set up easily. So they are used a lot across the country in notice events and especially in hurricanes.
Thank you so much, Kate. Can I put
And
you on the spot and for you to explain what's the difference between notice events versus unnoticed events or not planned events? No
Okay,
notice
yeah,
event?
I can do that. You could put me on the spot. A notice event is when we have noticed that something's coming in, and a hurricane is a great example. We know there's one churning. We don't know exactly where it's going to hit, but we have a good idea of, a range of area. So that's a notice event where you have time to plan and prepare. A no notice event is like a wildfire or an earthquake. And that tends to be the type of disaster that we have on the West Coast more often. It can be a tornado too, except sometimes they get a little bit of warning. So again, those are notice and non-notice events.
Thank
so
you, Kate. Julia and Carol, do you want to chime in as well?
for the Pacific Island region, we don't work with the Southern Baptists. There are a few here, but they don't have, like, they don't stand up a kitchen here. They don't have any stand-up kitchens here.
Thank you for the insight. Julia, any additional tips?
No, just like she said, they don't have a kitchen there, but sometimes when they realize there's a need for that, when I was in St. Thomas during Hurricane Maria, they raised money with their mission money and sent a whole kitchen to St. Thomas and then trained the folks there and left all the kitchen supplies behind so that island was supported. So I think they've just never seen the need to send a kitchen to Hawaii because they seem to manage to take care of business themselves as it is.
And we have had some of the churches provide food, but it's not like the stand-up kitchens that come in.
There are a lot of Baptist kitchens or churches that actually have a separate kitchen, like in North Carolina when they were talking, when Carol was talking earlier, that they'll have drive-through. We were doing 4,000 meals that the Red Cross was taking out of that kitchen to do mobile feeding and shelter feeding. They were also doing another 1,500 people driving through. It was really cute and comical. It was a horseshoe type kitchen. They had an inside kitchen and an outside kitchen that people would drive up. They'd put the meals in their cars. They'd give them the water, and they go forward and get a prayer, and they drive through and keep going. And then we ended up with some star football players that showed up. So then they got the prayer and an autograph and got to keep driving. So it just depends on the situation.
Thank you. A follow-up question for the panel. How long does it usually take to stand up a kitchen?
Once they've gotten on the ground, they can have a kitchen up, stood up in 4 hours, and 4 hours later have 4,000 meals on the ground if that kitchen's capable of that size amount of meals. It
Yeah,
takes about 4 hours to set up their kitchen.
it's amazing. It's very quick.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much. Let's go to the next question for the panel. Who decides what will be served, and do they also provide a shopping list? The way that we take the list and write up 6409s or request the ingredients and supplies?
Well, again, like I said, we work with either Cisco or US Foods, and they have pre-palletized meal plans for us, and we order those, or we talk to the blue hat person the guy that's in charge, the kitchen manager and the blue hat will say, okay, let's go with package A or B, depending on the size or the amount or how many days we're going to do this. And then that is all sent in the trailer that is a half refrigeration, half freezer type situation. And then they've got a dry goods trailer that has all the support meals that go along with it. So it's all pre-palletized. It comes to us ready to go in a preset meal. It's just that the Baptist can take a boring can of beans and turn it into something much tastier.
That's true.
Anything else from the panel?
It is nice not to do 6409s in the kitchen.
But if you're the kitchen manager, you have about 15 6409s that you have to fill out because you have to order your porta potties, your washing stations, your
Yeah.
yard light, your fencing, on and on and on. So I always have those pre-filled out, ready to go, and just change the name and the location when I have to do that.
Yeah. When you go to a kitchen, you will see a line of truck trailers full of food. You know, some of them are refrigerated and some are not. So there's an amazing amount of food on the ground. I think in Texas, one kitchen I worked in, I think they had like 17 of those trailers sitting there full of food waiting to be used.
And that's another job that we need to do as far as the Red Crossers, because they're all run by fuel that we have to make sure we watch the little fuel gauge. You don't want that to run out of fuel because all your stuff will start unthawing or your refrigerator part will die on you. So we have to have the big propane tanks that fill the reefer trucks, and making sure that our forklifts also have the fuel they need to drive all this stuff around the yard.
And inventory.
Yes.
Thank you, Julia. You totally read my mind. I was going to ask the follow-up question as in, how many 6409s do you have to submit to request a kitchen? And you answered that before I was even going to ask. And I'm seeing the comments says, you know, this is crazy and amazing 4K meals so quickly. And we didn't know that all those information. I think I personally never worked at a kitchen before. And I think the most amazing thing for me, or the most shocking thing for me, is how many 6409s you have to submit, how many things that you would have to think to prepare for the kitchen, or your propane, or your porta potties, or your forklift, or your pallets, etc. That is not only just for the kitchen or the meal itself, but all the other supporting staff and supporting resources.
Yeah,
So that is amazing.
Kitchen management simulation is probably one of the most interesting classes because you actually build a kitchen. And so, you know, where does the porta potties go? Where are the cameras washed? Where, you know, is everything? Where's the propane? So it's an incredible class, and it's really quite fun to just build this kitchen on your own and figure out where the things go.
And even if you never want to be a kitchen manager, just to take the class to learn all the idiosyncrasies that go on with the kitchen, like she said, it's a great class. And then there'll be things that will say, well, somebody will say, do you want a roll up? And they're gonna, what's a roll up? Well, that's a dumpster. What size dumpster do you want? I don't know. So you have to know the size of the dumpster, how many meals you think you're going to be doing to do that, and how often you want them to pick that up. So there's a lot involved in doing that, but it's still, everybody pitches in, everybody works as a family unit in that situation, and it's a great opportunity.
Thank you, Julia. I almost want to say, you know, the next operation, if it's a large, you know, national operation, I want to do feeding now in the kitchen. Okay, let's go to the next question.
Actually,
Before we run out of time.
Actually, Kiwe, I was going to
Yes.
say, since unfortunately this is going to be a rather robust hurricane season, um, I would recommend people get the experience. Jump into one of those kitchens as a
Yes.
feeding essay, just to dip your toe in the water and have the experience. You will love it.
You will love it.
And to let you know, some of these DRs have 5 to 7 kitchens depending on the size of the DR. So it isn't just one kitchen serving these. It could be 5 to 7 different kitchens depending on the magnitude of the disaster and how far spread out it is.
Thank you. I am already excited, and I'm sure everyone on this call is also excited and also probably a little nervous. Okay, so Julia, you mentioned several times earlier for the pre-filled 6409s, and we mentioned phone a friend, etc. Do we have anywhere that we have the pre-filled 6409s, or do we have a checklist to operate a kitchen or open a kitchen somewhere stored that
There
we
is
can share with each
there
other?
is a checklist on the type of things that you need to order for your kitchen. And you just have to fill out your own 6409s.
Yeah, one of the things is that they are redoing the feeding training as
Yeah.
we speak. So we hope there'll be updated checklists and how to open and how to close and all of those things. So I think there's going to be a lot more information very quickly.
Thank you so much. So, follow on one source for your most updated information. And Deborah is asking, can the managers in other activities call you for a hug too? Can we just all call each other and say, hey, this time is for a little hug that we need a little de-stress,
Oh, yes,
from the
please.
craziness.
I just had a girl from Florida call me the other day and said, help, I just need to vent. That's okay. That's what we're here for. We're a Red Cross family to support each other. Please. I will answer 24/7.
I love it. Okay, one more question before I ask you all to give a tip. How are meal count requirements shared from a shelter manager to the feeding team?
Can you say that again?
Yeah.
How are the meal counts shared from a shelter manager to the feeding team?
To headquarters?
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's say you have a shelter that you want to feed. How does the feeding team know how many clients does the shelter have so they can prepare enough meal for them?
So the
We will.
sheltering manager will talk to the feeding manager at headquarters, and then that gets passed on down to the kitchen manager.
Okay, thank you. So communications, again, that is extremely important, whether it's within your functions or whether it's with all your partner functions, whether it's sheltering, whether it's external relations, or whether it's planning so that they can do the route fraud. I do see another question here, but before that, I want to ask you all, the panelists, to share a tip. Let's say the disaster season, we have the hurricane season coming up, and this is our first deployment. This is my first deployment to a kitchen. What is one tip that you will share with me? Let's say this is my first time. I don't know which position I'm going into. What is one tip that you think you would give me?
It's kind of a twofold tip that I would say: be very, very flexible, Gumby, and don't take things personal. It's not a personal attack if somebody says you're doing something wrong and you made a mistake, and now you will learn not to do that again.
I would think, one of the things that's fun in a kitchen is to go out with the ERV drivers. And that's a great place to start because you understand what happens when that food leaves the kitchen, or you're delivering it to a shelter. So you're walking into a shelter. So you get a broad base of where that food is going and the effect that it's having on people.
Thank you.
I would say you want to go, Mary? Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Carol.
Okay, I would say that for me, it's go with an open mind and don't think you're stuck doing something. Learn from it and see what's around. And so this time you were assigned as an ERV driver and you realize that's too stressful. While you're there, look around and see what else people are doing and where you feel like you might fit in. And always go with eyes to see, how can I help best? I do have the organizational skills. Gosh, they need it. Oh, great. Let me go there. So
there's
And
a reason Gumby has been the feeding mascot for a long time.
yes, yes.
And my tip would be always keep in mind client first. Think about
Yes.
how you would feel walking in their shoes. during this disaster, this event. So no matter what job you do, if you're thinking, am I better off than our clients are right now? You'll have a great experience.
Thank you all. I love all the tips. And I really, really definitely love the clients first. Put yourself into their shoes and to see what is the best options for them if you were in their shoes. It is 6:30. I know that we have one more question. We can address it next time. Next time, come in with your questions or thoughts, or maybe we can get you excited for the headquarters feeding manager, which is a really, really big role and important function in any of the operations that we have. Thank you so much for attending. And the video recording for today will be published tonight. And the slides, it is already in your inbox with the email link that I sent already. Thank you so much all. We will see you next week. Have a wonderful Wednesday evening. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you.